In life, there are moments that seem perfect, yet a single small event can be enough to change everything. Emily Carter, dressed in a pristine white wedding gown, believed today would be the happiest day of her life. But just as she stepped out the door, she noticed that Buddy, her loyal dog of over 12 years, was acting strangely, with trembling legs and eyes pleading for help. Buddy did something no one could have predicted. He completely transformed Emily's big day. What made Emily ready to leave everything behind to prioritize her four-legged companion? Why did her wedding unfold in circumstances no one could have foreseen? Join Life Stories as we delve into an emotional tale of love, sacrifice, and the profound lessons left behind by this loyal dog. Emily Carter stood in front of the mirror, admiring her reflection in the pure white wedding gown. The dress was the result of months of careful selection and adjustments, fitting her perfectly and accentuating her beauty. She reminded herself that today would be the most wonderful day of her life. Everything had been meticulously prepared, from the floral arrangements and the menu to the melodies the band would play at the reception. Yet, there was one thing no one could prepare for: the unexpected surge of emotion. Buddy, her loyal border collie, lay at her feet, his deep brown eyes fixed on her with an unmistakable sense of worry. Emily knelt down, gently stroking Buddy's soft fur, and reassured him, "Buddy, today is a special day. Everything's going to be just fine, my boy." Buddy had been Emily's companion since her college days. He had stood by her during the heaviest rainy days and the long, stressful nights of studying. Not a single day went by without Buddy waiting by the door, wagging his tail to welcome her home. Today was no different, yet something felt off. Buddy didn't bark joyfully as usual. Instead, he seemed restless, as if he was trying to tell her something. Emily felt a twinge of unease, but there wasn't much time to dwell on it. She had to get to the church and meet her fiancé, James, the man she loved and was ready to spend the rest of her life with. Buddy, as planned, would stay home with the sitter during this most important day. As Emily stepped out the door, Buddy suddenly blocked her path. He stood firmly in front of her, panting heavily, his eyes reflecting an unusual plea. Emily knelt down again, feeling Buddy's heartbeat racing faster than normal. This odd behavior was impossible to ignore. "Buddy, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice full of worry. The dog responded only with a gentle lick on her hand, as if begging her to stay. Emily decided to trust her instincts. She called James, her voice trembling with anxiety. "James, I can't leave right now. Something's wrong with Buddy. I need to take him to the vet." James, who understood Emily better than anyone, reassured her, "Don't worry. I'll let everyone know. Buddy is family, and if he needs you, be there for him." Emily took Buddy to the nearest veterinary clinic. As she lifted him into the car, his trembling legs confirmed that this needed immediate attention. On the way, she kept stroking Buddy and whispered softly, "Hang in there, Buddy. Everything will be okay." Emily sat in the waiting room of the veterinary clinic, her trembling hands gently stroking Buddy, her loyal companion. The ticking of the clock on the wall seemed slower than ever, each second dragging with it a heavy sense of anxiety. The room was so quiet that Emily could hear Buddy's labored, heavy breathing, a constant reminder that the situation was far from simple. The clinic door swung open, and a composed veterinarian stepped out. She was an older woman with deep, experienced eyes, though today they carried a hint of sadness. She knelt to examine Buddy thoroughly, checking his heartbeat, breathing, and responses. "How old is Buddy?" the vet asked in a calm, warm voice. 12, almost 13, Emily replied, trying to keep her voice steady but unable to hide the lump in her throat. The vet nodded gently and proceeded with a few quick tests. While waiting for the results, she turned back to Emily and softly asked, "What does this dog mean to you?" Emily looked down, placing her hand on Buddy's head, feeling the soft fur under her palm. She tried to hold back her tears but couldn't. "Buddy isn't just a dog. He's family. He's been with me through the hardest times of my life. I don't know what I'd do without him." The vet nodded again, as if she deeply understood every word Emily said. A moment later, the test results came back. She sat down next to Emily, her gaze gentle yet filled with compassion. "Emily, I know this isn't easy to hear, but Buddy is in the final stages of heart failure. This is a common condition in older dogs, especially breeds like Buddy. His heart has been overworked for a long time, and today, the stress has made things much worse." Emily froze. She couldn't believe that her once healthy and energetic dog was now facing such a monumental challenge. The vet continued, "We'll do everything we can to keep Buddy comfortable, but I have to be honest, he doesn't have much time left." Those words felt like a dagger slicing through Emily's heart. She felt as if her own heart had stopped beating. Everything around her seemed to blur. She looked down at Buddy, who was lying peacefully at her feet, his gentle eyes looking up at her as if to say he would be okay. But she knew she couldn't let Buddy sense her pain. Gently holding his paw, she silently promised that she wouldn't let him face any difficult moments alone. "How much time does he have?" Emily whispered, her voice breaking with emotion. The vet placed a comforting hand on her shoulder and replied, "I can't say for certain, but it's likely just a few days, or at most, a few weeks. What's most important now is to make sure Buddy feels comfortable and doesn't suffer." Those words cut into Emily's heart like another blade. She felt frozen, paralyzed, yet at the same time, an intense surge of emotion rose within her, a mixture of pain, love, and determination. At that moment, James, Emily's fiancé, walked in. He had left everything behind to be with her after her call. As soon as he saw Buddy, James knelt down, gently placing his hand on the dog's head. He didn't ask any questions or say a word. He simply looked at Emily and understood how serious the situation was. "James," Emily began, but her voice faltered and broke. He looked at her, his gaze gentle yet filled with determination. "Buddy is our family. I'm here, and we'll get through this together." The vet, sensing the deep bond between them and Buddy, added, "If you'd like, we can provide pain relief and supportive care for Buddy. But I believe the most important thing is to fill his final days with love and peace." Emily felt her emotions overflow. She leaned down and wrapped her arms around Buddy, feeling his warmth in her embrace. "Buddy, I won't let you go through this alone. I promise." Both Emily and James decided, right there in the clinic, that everything else would have to wait. The wedding, the church, all their plans, they could be postponed. But not Buddy. "What do we do now?" James asked, his voice soft but filled with resolve. Emily lifted her head, her eyes red from tears but glowing with determination. "We'll stay right here, right now. If Buddy can't come to our wedding, then we'll bring the wedding to Buddy." James smiled and nodded in agreement. And that was the moment they began transforming the veterinary clinic into the most meaningful wedding venue they could imagine. Emily and James faced a difficult choice: continue the wedding as planned or change everything to prioritize Buddy. James made the decision. "We can have the wedding here, right now. What matters is that we have each other, and Buddy will be there too." Emily was surprised by the idea. A wedding at a veterinary clinic? It was worlds away from the grand vision she had always dreamed of. But she quickly realized this was the right thing to do. A wedding wasn't about perfection. It was about love, and Buddy deserved to witness that moment. James called their family and friends, asking them to come to the clinic instead of the church. While they waited, the veterinarian and the clinic staff quickly transformed the small space into a warm and cozy setting. A bouquet of wildflowers from the backyard was placed on a table, and soft candlelight glowed through the windows. When everyone arrived, the atmosphere was filled with love and warmth. Emily, still in her wedding dress, walked over to James, who was standing beside Buddy. The loyal dog, wrapped in a soft blanket, gazed at everyone with eyes full of joy. The priest, who had been invited, began the ceremony with an emotional voice. "Today, we are witnessing not just the love between two people, but also the love they share with their most loyal friend, Buddy." Emily couldn't hold back her tears as she looked into James's eyes and recited her vows. "James, I promise to love you, cherish you, and build a life full of love with you, just as Buddy has taught us." James squeezed her hand tightly, then looked down at Buddy. He spoke softly. "Buddy, You've been an important part of our journey. We'll carry your love and the lessons you've taught us with us for the rest of our lives." The ceremony ended in profound emotion, leaving everyone deeply moved. Buddy lay quietly beside Emily, his eyes gently closed, but the warm smile on his face seemed to say, "I'm happy to be here." After the wedding at the veterinary clinic, Emily and James devoted their lives to Buddy more than ever before. They decided that the time Buddy had left wouldn't just be days of survival but days filled with joy, love, and beautiful memories. Buddy, though tired and weaker than before, seemed to sense the overwhelming love they poured into every moment with him. Emily began rearranging her work schedule, spending more time at home. James did the same. The busy, routine mornings were now replaced with peaceful moments by Buddy's side. They took him to the park the three of them had always loved, where Buddy could roam in the open space, though his health no longer allowed him to run far. Simply breathing in the fresh air and lying on the soft green grass seemed to bring him peace. Emily and James also held little parties just for Buddy. On one occasion, they baked a birthday cake, not for themselves, but to celebrate the day Emily adopted Buddy from the rescue shelter 12 years ago. They invited a few close friends who had known and loved Buddy for years. Buddy sat in the center, wearing a small bow tied around his neck, his eyes lighting up as he caught the scent of the special meat cake Emily had lovingly prepared for him. Buddy's final days weren't marked by sorrowful waiting, but by beautiful moments that Emily and James cherished deeply. They knew time was running short, but every day they made an effort to make it memorable. Months after the wedding, on an early autumn morning, Buddy passed away in Emily and James's arms. He was no longer in pain or weary. The two of them sat beside him for hours, whispering words of love and recounting precious memories, as if to help him find peace as he left. Emily couldn't hold back her tears as she looked at Buddy lying quietly, but she knew he had lived a full life. Gently stroking his fur, she whispered, "Buddy, you've done more than I could have ever hoped for. You've taught me so much. Thank you for everything." James held Emily's hand tightly, his voice low but filled with emotion. "Buddy will never leave us. He'll always be here, in our hearts." After Buddy passed, Emily and James felt a deep void in their lives. But instead of letting sorrow consume them, they decided to turn their love for Buddy into inspiration for something meaningful. The two began participating in charitable activities for animals. They donated money to shelters, provided food and warm blankets for senior dogs, and organized small events to raise awareness about adopting older dogs. Emily also wrote a blog post about Buddy, sharing his story with thousands of readers. She received countless responses from pet owners across the country who had experienced similar moments. Buddy's story didn't just touch the hearts of Emily and James. It inspired many others as well. A year later, Emily and James decided they were ready to open their hearts once again. During a visit to the shelter where Emily had first adopted Buddy, they met Leo, a senior golden retriever with gentle yet sorrowful eyes. Leo had been at the shelter for years after being abandoned by his previous family. The shelter staff explained that no one wanted to adopt an older dog, fearing they wouldn't have much time together. Emily looked at Leo and immediately felt a connection. She recalled the first day she met Buddy. Leo's eyes gave her a familiar sense of comfort, as if Buddy were somewhere watching and smiling. It didn't take long for both of them to decide. Leo would become the newest member of their family. When Leo came home, Emily and James noticed that he seemed shy and cautious. They understood that Leo needed time to feel safe and loved. With patience and tenderness, they helped him adjust, from delicious meals to long walks in the park, a place Buddy had once adored. Leo gradually became more cheerful and energetic. He even displayed behaviors that reminded Emily of Buddy, like lying at her feet while she worked or resting his head on James's hand whenever he needed attention. But Leo wasn't a replacement for Buddy. He was a new chapter in their family's journey of love. Emily and James realized that Buddy had left behind a legacy greater than they ever imagined. He had taught them that love isn't measured by the length of time spent together, but by how we live and cherish every moment. Buddy had instilled in them a deep sense of gratitude and responsibility for homeless dogs. Every year, On the anniversary of Buddy's passing, Emily and James held a small memorial at home. With candles, flowers, and joyful stories about Buddy, they invited friends and family to join, sharing laughter and memories of their loyal companion, while also raising funds to support rescue shelters. Buddy taught us how to love unconditionally, Emily said at one charity event, and his legacy will continue to live on, not just in our hearts but in everyone who believes that love knows no bounds. Buddy, though no longer by their side, remained present in every action and every moment Emily and James spent spreading love. And with Leo, they began a new chapter, a journey that Buddy would surely be watching over. Emily and James didn't just keep Buddy's legacy alive in their hearts, they passed on the lessons Buddy had taught them to the next generation. As their family grew with the arrival of two children, Lily and Ethan, the values Buddy had instilled were shared with them as well. Each evening, Emily would tell her children stories about Buddy, the dog who had been by her side through so many ups and downs. She shared how Buddy was there during her lonely nights as a single woman and how he taught her that love didn't need to be perfect, only genuine. Lily, the older child, would often snuggle close to her mother and ask, "Mom, was Buddy like a superhero? He always protected you." Emily smiled and nodded. "Yes, sweetheart. Buddy didn't need a cape or special powers. Just through his love, loyalty, and presence, he became my hero." James also played a vital role in passing down the lessons Buddy had taught them. One day, he took Ethan to the park and shared the story of their wedding at the veterinary clinic. Ethan, still too young to grasp the full meaning, simply looked up and asked, "Dad, why did you and Mom do that for a dog?" James knelt down to meet Ethan at eye level, placing a hand on his son's shoulder, and said, "Buddy wasn't just a dog, son. He was part of our family. He taught your mom and me that true love is unconditional and boundless. And sometimes, loving someone means putting them above yourself." That was how Buddy lived on in their family, through stories, lessons of love, loyalty, and sacrifice. Emily and James taught their children that loving someone deeply creates a beautiful legacy, not just for ourselves, but for those around us. Through these teachings, Buddy's spirit became an enduring presence in their home, shaping the way they lived and loved. Emily and James didn't stop with their family. They extended Buddy's lessons to the community. They regularly participated in small workshops at animal shelters, sharing their story to encourage others to adopt senior dogs. They believed that with a little love and care, these dogs could bring immense joy and meaning to anyone's life. Every year, on Buddy's anniversary, Emily and James took the entire family back to the shelter where they had adopted Leo. Lily and Ethan helped their parents bring food, warm blankets, and toys for the senior dogs. They even organized reading sessions for children, where Emily would share Buddy's story, inspiring other families to open their hearts to older dogs. Through these efforts, Emily and James ensured that Buddy's legacy continued to touch lives, spreading love, compassion, and hope to both people and animals alike. Buddy, though no longer with them, remained a guiding light in Emily and James's lives. The story of their loyal dog was not just a memory but a source of inspiration, encouraging them to live more meaningful and loving lives. They realized that love doesn't always require grand gestures. Sometimes, simple presence, loyalty, and small acts of care are enough to create miracles. Emily often shared in her talks, "Buddy taught us that love is never about perfection but about how you accept and care for others, regardless of their flaws. True love lies in the smallest, most genuine gestures." Buddy's story wasn't just about a dog and a family. It became a symbol of unconditional love between humans and their pets. Through their story, Emily and James hope to inspire more people to adopt senior dogs, who are often overlooked in shelters. Buddy's legacy lived on, reminding the world that love, in its simplest and purest form, can change lives. In a social media post, Emily shared, "If you're looking for a loyal companion, consider the senior dogs at shelters. They may not have much time left, but the moments you share with them will create lifelong memories." Buddy taught us that even a short life can leave a profound legacy. Emily and James also launched a YouTube channel called Life with Love to recount Buddy's story and share tips on caring for senior dogs. The channel quickly gained thousands of views, as viewers were drawn to the touching story and meaningful messages. The story of Emily, James, and Buddy is a testament to the value of love and loyalty. Buddy wasn't just a dog. He was a family member and a teacher who showed them how to prioritize what truly matters in life. To everyone hearing this story, remember that love and sacrifice aren't just for humans. They are also for our four-legged friends who love us unconditionally. If you have the chance, visit a shelter and show your love to senior dogs who are patiently waiting for a home. Don't forget to subscribe to Life Stories to discover more heartfelt and meaningful stories like this one.